Good evening and welcome to eNews. I'm Shahan Ramkisoon. It's great to have you with us. Our top stories tonight. The public protector goes after the president. Cyril Ramaphosa has until next Friday to respond to allegations that he violated the executive ethics code. 5 members of the police's anti-gang unit shot while pursuing suspects in Cape Town. And
while he was sleeping here in the park, someone came and they stabbed him. He woke up, but he got away, luckily, and he's still alive.
Police are not ruling out the possibility of a serial killer targeting homeless people in Pretoria. This leads. The DA wants the public protector to release her report on the investigation into Cyril Ramaphosa now. The presidency's confirmed he's being probed for violating the executive ethics code over a controversial R500,000 donation from Bosasa. Busisiwe Mkhwebane wants him to answer to the allegations by next week. But the president's asking for another week's grace. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
The DA asked the public protector late last year to investigate whether President Cyril Ramaphosa had misled Parliament.
Did your son benefit from Bosasa?
He initially said a 500,000 rand payment to his son Andile from Bosasa was payment for work done. Ramaphosa later corrected his response to Parliament, saying it was in fact a donation to his campaign for ANC president. He claimed he had no knowledge of this. The DA is now demanding the public protector make her findings known immediately.
This matter has been ongoing for a long time, given that the initial complaint was late in November last year, and the public protector made the decision then to investigate. And as we know, by the rules, she's supposed to have established and compiled a report within 30 days of the decision to investigate. And now that we are seeing versions of the report being reported to, which creates unnecessary speculation.
Busisiwe Mkhwebane says she's still deciding whether to accede to Ramaphosa's request for more time to answer to the allegations. The president also wants to cross-examine witnesses, including DA leader Mmusi Maimane. In a letter to the DA, Mkhwebane states as soon as she gets Ramaphosa's response, she can finalize her report. The DA says if Ramaphosa is found to have lied to MPs, he should lead by example and step down. Lindsay Dentlinger, Parliament.
Former NPA boss Mxolisi Nqasana has detailed cracks in the prosecuting authorities' armour. He was testifying at the state capture inquiry. Nqasana's claiming former President Jacob Zuma's lawyer offered him the top job. Aaron Bates reports.
Mxolisi Nqasana's appointment as NDPP was, well, unusual. He claims it was lawyer Michael Hully who approached him. Soon afterward, Nqasana says he met Hully's client, then President Jacob Zuma.
If I remember well, said it was a very difficult task to handle.
Nqasana was appointed in 2013.
Later on, I discovered that Advocate Jiba, as she was acting, she was promised by the then Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Minister Jeff Radebe, that she was going to be appointed on a permanent basis.
Jiba, he claims, was looking for dirt on him, and they clashed on a high-profile case.
With regard
to the racketeering charge against Poison,
yes.
Chair, there was not a shred of evidence.
After lunch, Jiba's lawyer arrived.
Any evidence that implicates Ms. Jiba should be held back. I'm not saying it should be excised or not dealt with. It should be held back. The opportunity for dealing with such evidence at this forum will come.
That's because notices were issued at the last minute. It's unclear when Nqasana will return, but his input on the NPA is key.
We adjourn.
Aaron Bates, Johannesburg.
Could a serial killer be behind the murders of 3 homeless men in Pretoria? Well, police are suggesting it is possible after the victims were killed in the same manner in the past 2 weeks. They've now launched a manhunt. Intelligence units and informers are being used to help solve the crimes. Liranzo Temba has this story.
The
The bloody evidence of murder. The bodies of two homeless middle-aged men were found in this park, one of them yesterday. Nestled in the leafy suburb of Nakalnek, it's a popular picnic spot. Some of the city's homeless also find refuge here. The body of a third man was found about 500 meters from the park 2 weeks ago.
All the deceased were found with multiple stab wounds to the upper body and also blunt force trauma.
Mavimbela says police are investigating all avenues and can't rule out hate crimes or serial killings.
At this stage, we are not isolating the possibilities of what is happening here to one particular theory.
The deaths have sent shockwaves through the community of those who find themselves out in the cold. This destitute man says he now has to think twice about where he lays down his head.
It's a bit shocking because I don't understand how can people go around killing a person who's homeless, who doesn't have money, who doesn't have anything. I don't understand why.
This homeless advocacy group is convinced the men are being specifically targeted.
About 3 weeks ago, we've just spoken to a guy that was a victim of violence, and while he was sleeping here in the park, someone came and they stabbed him. He woke up, but he got away.
Police have increased visibility at the park and surrounding areas. They're also warning the homeless to be more vigilant. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
5 members of the police's anti-gang unit have been shot in the line of duty. They were chasing suspects in a Cape Town informal settlement. Police Minister Becky Cele says the culprits will be found and will face the full might of the law. Leanne Jansen reports.
They've been tasked with cracking down on gangsterism in Cape Town, but now they've become the targets. 5 anti-gang unit members were tracking suspects linked to recent murders in Samora Machel when they came under attack. Police say this area is a hideout for dangerous criminals. 2 of the injured anti-gang unit members are currently being treated at this hospital. One of them, Freddie Florence, is fighting for his life in the ICU. 42-year-old Florence got shot in the head, which nearly killed him. He also has gunshot wounds in the arm and leg.
Now, 4 of 5 seconds heb ek die oproep gekry. En op die stadium, ek kan nie vir u sê hoe ek voel nie. Beide van ons is in hierdie beroep. So op hierdie stadium is dit vir my bietjie moeilik.
Edward Lagrange has been shot in the hip. The others are being treated at a Takai hospital. Police Minister Becky Cele has issued this warning.
Unfortunately, life until we find this guy is going to be difficult for the people of Samora because we are going to up the game.
Samora Machel will be locked down for 72 hours until all those involved are arrested.
We will be searching every single place and every single facility until we have tracked down and found this member, and from there systematically we will move into any area on a lockdown basis with the same amount of forces.
A 26-year-old man has since been arrested. A manhunt is underway for the rest. Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
In other local news, President Cyril Ramaphosa's newly appointed cabinet started its 3-day meeting in Pretoria today. Topics up for discussion include remedies to improve the economy and how to streamline the president's new ministries. Well, as the newly formed cabinet meets in Pretoria, ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule has released the terms of reference for the investigation into allegations that some ANC leaders helped form smaller parties before the general election. Magashule is alleged to have helped form the ATM party. Former President Kgalema Motlanthe will oversee that investigation. And apologies for those incorrect visuals earlier, but this is the story now. In Parliament, a scuffle broke out between members of the National Assembly during what was meant to be training. It apparently started when ANC members felt that a question from an EFF member was too long, causing frustration. Newly elected National Assembly Speaker Thandi Modise was forced to intervene to separate MPs as they tried to assault each other. The induction was meant to train MPs on the operations, procedures and rules of Parliament before they officially begin their duties ahead of the State of the Nation address next week. Still to come on eNews, violence on the streets of Hong Kong over a proposed new extradition bill. And we'll find out how the markets performed today with Rupiwa.
That's right, Shahan. So the rand was slightly weaker this afternoon as uncertainty re-emerges around the direction that those global trade tensions are going to take.
Welcome back. Let's talk business now with Rupiwa. So the retail sales coming in better than expected, showing people are spending, but where are we getting the money from given the current economic climate?
Yeah, interesting question, Shahan. So retail sales did come in, showing there was a 2.4% increase in spending for year on year in April. So what they did attribute a lot of this to was the Easter festivities, people spending on food, which was the biggest contributor to the retail numbers that we saw. But one market analyst reckons that consumers are going out to get more credit. And what we have seen in the last few years is that a lot of your big retailers, food and clothing, are extending credit facilities to consumer. In fact, some of the big banks and some of the retailers attribute some of their earnings that they make on an interim or full-year basis on the interest that they get from giving credit to consumers. What is worrying, though, Shahana, must say, is that how are consumers going to be able to be paying these these facilities back? We are in an environment where salary increases are very little to none. The cost of living has increased and consumers are paying increased taxes like income tax for some tax brackets. So it's very tough times. But just to get a sense of what market participants thought, we spoke to Viv Govender, and this is what he had to say, market analyst, about these retail numbers.
I think these two numbers combined give us a bit of confidence that we won't see a negative number for Q2. Remember, we had the minus 3.2 for Q1, the first quarter, and then now we're going to see probably a positive number for Q2. I don't think it'll be fully compensating the fall we had in the first quarter, but it should be positive. And technically, that means that we avoid a recession.
So maybe the National Credit Regulator needs to come in here and put stricter measures on how people are given credit cards.
That's what's going to be needed, is that the facilities that are given to consumers, particularly by retailers like clothing retailers and the like, are going to be very stringent, are going to have to be rather very stringent on the credit that they offer and who they offer to, because I do think that if it's not properly regulated, Shahan, we are going to see a little bit of a tough time ahead. So that's what they're saying there. And they're also just anticipating for the rest of the year, given those challenges that the consumer has in terms of disposable income, retail sales in terms of increases might remain muted for the rest of the year.
Yeah, how did the markets perform as well?
So interesting day on the markets today, Shahan. So the JSE closed fractionally in the negative today. A strong run by the miners, but weaker banking and retail shares against a backdrop of weaker rand offset those gains. Market heavyweight Naspers was down 1.1% as well. And global equity markets essentially taking a breather today after days of gains. If we take a look at your commodities now, the gold price was 0.5% stronger today, with Brent crude oil slipping quite steeply as data showed that there was higher inventories in the US, and this was obviously a little bit more than was expected. If we take a look at the local unit now, investor sentiment globally remains fragile. So the rand shed those gains it made over the last few days, together with other emerging market currencies, and it's also waiting for that State of the Nation address coming soon, Shahan.
Yeah, hopefully we gain some ground in the rand, because some of us want to actually go on holiday. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it, Rupiwa Madziena. International news now. A 5-year-old boy has died from Ebola in Uganda. He was the first confirmed case in the country, but officials are now following up on 8 more suspected infections. An epidemic is raging in neighboring DRC, with over 2,000 cases reported in the last 10 months. Uganda has already vaccinated thousands of health workers against the disease. In Hong Kong, demonstrations against a new extradition bill have turned violent. Police fired rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse protesters. At least 22 people have been injured. The bill will see people sent to mainland China to stand trial. The protest is reminiscent of pro-democracy protests that brought Hong Kong to a standstill in 2014. And hundreds of thousands of people rather, in western India have been evacuated. Cyclone Vayu is intensifying and is expected to make landfall tomorrow. India's military and its National Disaster Response Force are on standby to help with rescue and relief efforts. Now, in May, Cyclone Fani killed at least 34 people on India's eastern coast. Your weather with Candice McKechnie, and then a unique appeal from the city of Joburg, which has got some residents questioning their relationship status, just like me. That story coming up in a moment. Stay with us.
A series of cold fronts brought in a wintry Wednesday over the western part of South Africa, and we're expecting a cold night, especially over the central and southern parts. That series of fronts brings in rain into the Eastern Cape overnight, with cloudy weather and rainfall into KwaZulu-Natal, and much colder temperatures through to the central and eastern parts of South Africa on Thursday. But we're expecting clearer weather in the west, with a slightly warmer day expected. In the Northern Cape, you'll see fine and dry conditions with another cold day in store, but particularly in the morning, especially over the southern parts, -6 and 10 degrees for Sutherland, 16 for Passersburg, Kimberley and Prieska. Another chilly days in store for the Western Cape with a predominantly sunny forecast, 7 and 16 for Cape Town, George at 15 degrees. And you'll see cold weather through to the Eastern Cape with a chance of light morning rain along the coastline, and a very cold start to the day across the interior, with most of those minimum temperatures dropping below zero overnight. Cold weather reaches KwaZulu-Natal with a high of 16 for Pietermaritzburg, 13 for Newcastle and Vryheid, with lots of cloud and the possibility of rainfall. Cooling also reaches Mpumalanga, Bombela at 21, with a high of only 14 degrees for eMkhuhlaneni, Ermelo and Mkhondo. Still warm though as we head towards Limpopo, with a predominantly sunny day and maximum temperatures heading into the 20s. Fine and dry for Northwest, Mahikeng topping 21 with a minimum temperature of 5. Klerksdorp and Potchefstroom at 18 degrees. It'll be a freezing start to the day for Bethlehem with a high of 15, 1 and 11 degrees for Harry Smith with partly cloudy conditions. Sunny and dry as we head towards Gauteng, 22 for Pretoria, with the rest of those maximum temperatures at around 20 degrees. On Friday, a few drops of rain remain for Richards Bay, but other than that, we're expecting sunny weather, and temperatures remain cool across the country, but steadily warm up as we head towards the weekend, with pleasant weather into KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. That's all from the Weather Centre. Have a great one.
Well, power outages are really nothing to laugh about, but sometimes you can either laugh or cry. Winter has arrived and the city of Joburg has a very awkward request for you. It says there's more than one way to keep warm.
The city posted this tweet a little earlier today. It got straight to the point, saying residents should find a warm body if they're feeling a bit chilly. It also used that infamous hashtag, #YouAreSingleBecause. The tweet suggests residents should swap electric blankets for lovers, all in a bid to save energy. There's been a swift response from Twitter users, some saying it was rather offensive, but most took it in their stride. In fact, some even responded with a few memes of their own. It's not clear whether power usage has declined since the city issued its appeal.
Yeah, it'll be me and my heater tonight, I'll tell you that. Here's a round of your top stories before we go. The public protector goes after the president. Cyril Ramaphosa has until Friday next week to respond to allegations that he violated the executive ethics code. 5 members of the police's anti-gang unit shot while pursuing suspects in Cape Town.
While he was sleeping here in the park, someone came and they stabbed him. He woke up, but he got away, luckily, and he's still alive.
And police are not ruling out the possibility of a serial killer targeting homeless people in Pretoria. From me, Shahan Ramkisoon, Mahita, and the rest of the team, good night.